Hey, what's going on? My name is Michael. You guys are watching IDB, and iOS 17 is officially out to everyone. So if you are watching this video, that means you can go ahead and update your iPhone to iOS 17 right now. I'm going to show you every single new change in this update, and these are in no particular order. So let's go ahead and jump in right now. We have a couple of changes inside of music. The first one is the mini player at the bottom is now floating, as you can see here. If I grab my other iPhone, you can see this is what it used to look like, where the mini player was attached to the bottom navigation bar. But here in iOS 17, you can see we get a little bit more separation with the floating mini player. Also, when you are listening to music and you are viewing your album, as you can see here, we now have animated album artwork. Previously, this was just reserved for Apple Music browsing features, but now when it is actually in your library, you can see the animated artwork playing in your Now Playing screen. And another great feature for music, if we jump into settings, scroll down and click on music, we now have the option for crossfade. So this has been a long requested feature. When you are listening to your music and one song goes to the next, you can now choose to fade your music in between songs. And right here, you can choose how long the crossfade duration is. The next feature I want to show you is probably my favorite of this entire update. It is called standby mode. So when your iPhone is mounted in horizontal mode and it is charging, you're going to see that your iPhone goes into a different mode that we've never had before. This is what Apple calls standby mode. I use this every single night when my phone is mounted on my MagSafe charger beside my bed, and this is very, very useful. So we have a few different styles that we can choose from. We have this pretty fun one that animates when the time changes. We have this one, which I like a lot. We also have a world clock and also showing where the sun is. This is more of an analog one. And then we also have a basic digital one as well. If we swipe to the side, we can get photos as well. So once it unlocks with Face ID, you can see some of your photos in your library. You can also swipe to see a bunch of different styles of photos as well. And then finally, if we swipe once more from left to right, you can see that we have this widget view, and you can swipe on each side to see a bunch of different useful information. So this standby mode sort of reminds me of those smart home displays that you can buy from Google and Amazon. And Siri also has a redesign in this mode as well. What was the score in the Blue Jays game? So you can see here, Siri is really big and the graphics look amazing when it's mounted in standby. And also for standby mode, I want to show you that if you press and hold on the screen, once it unlocks with Face ID, you're able to change the style of all of these clocks. So if I go here, I can tap this icon and I can change the color to whatever I want. So let's choose this one, for example. And then just like this, I can change the style of my standby mode. And we also have a few very small changes inside of weather. The first one is when you're viewing the weather for your current location, it now actually says my location. Compared to iOS 16, it would simply just say the town that you're in. And we also do have a bunch of different data for the moon and moon phases. So if you scroll down, you can see that we have the moon phase right here. We can click on it. We can see a bunch of different information about the moon. We can see the schedule. And we also have a slider here that's going to show you exactly what moon phase is going to be based on the day. And another very small change inside weather on iOS 17 is we get a little bit more detail in terms of the rain data. Here you can see it shows a 35% chance of rain for Monday. If I go to iOS 16, you can see it only says 30. In iOS 16 and before, it would only go up in increments of 10%, but on iOS 17, the percent chance of rain now goes up in increments of 5%. And iOS 17 also gives you a little bit more customization on the lock screen. If we press and hold and click on Customize, we can click on our lock screen. And then once we choose the time, you can see that we now have a slider, which is going to allow us to change the thickness of our lock screen clock. So here are the fonts that we can choose from. I don't think these have changed from iOS 16, but what has changed is this slider right here. You can see that we can make it really thick and also very thin. So just a bit more customization on the lock screen here. We also do have a few slight changes inside of Control Center. The first thing you'll notice is that the AirPlay icon on the top right is now a lot bigger and way more clickable. You can see compared to iOS 16, it was just a very tiny grayed out icon, but here in iOS 17, it is an actual button. And also, this is really showing Apple's attention to detail. On the brightness and volume slider, there is a little bit more physics, you could say, when you're doing the slider gestures. You can see when I go all the way down, the slider kind of reacts in a playful way. So again, this just kind of shows Apple's attention to detail and makes Control Center a little bit more fun and playful to use. iOS 17 also introduces a change inside of Safari. If you ever use private browsing mode, you are now able to lock your private tabs. If I go ahead and switch over to private mode, you can see the UI is a little bit different. I can choose to unlock it with Face ID to show my private tabs. This was not even an option in iOS 16. And you're also going to notice that when you activate Spotlight Search, either by pulling down on the home screen or by tapping the search icon, that the animation is a lot more fluid. And you're also going to notice that inside of Spotlight, we have a bit more information in terms of searching up details inside an actual application. For example, if I type in photos, instead of just recommending the Photos app, you can see it's recommending recent photos, my favorites, and also various places. And when you are launching an application from Spotlight, you're also going to get a way better animation. So here is iOS 16. You can see it kind of comes in from the side, and here is the new animation in iOS 17. And inside of the clock application, we are now able to see our recent timers. And also we can finally have multiple timers going at once on the iPhone, which has been a long awaited feature. And also, as you can see here, as my alarm is going off, if you have an iPhone 14 Pro, your current alarms going off are going to show up in the island at the top. And iOS 17 also has a really great new feature for those of you who use Apple AirTags. You now have the option to share the location of an AirTag with up to 5 different people. This is going to come in very handy if you have a shared item amongst your family, such as maybe a set of golf clubs, for example. You now have the option to share the location of your AirTag with multiple people. This is a really great feature. Also new in iOS 17, if you go to Settings and click on Control Center, you can now add a new widget to ping your Apple Watch. You can see right here, it's a green icon, and when I go into Control Center, I'm able to ping my watch in case I lose it somewhere in my house. And iOS 17 also introduces a bunch of really great new features for the 2nd generation AirPods Pro. So I have them connected and in my ear right now. If I go to Settings, and go to the very top, I can click on my AirPods Pro. And one of the first great new features is that you actually have the option to mute a call with one click. I've been wanting this for so long, so now when I'm on a phone call, if I want to mute myself, all I have to do is click the stem of my AirPods one time. We also have a few different audio modes, which I really appreciate. So if I press and hold on my audio slider, you can see I can click on noise control, and we have a new mode in here called adaptive. So what this is going to do is it is going to transition between transparency mode and noise cancellation for you. So the AirPods Pro have a bunch of microphones and sensors inside them, and they can determine what your surroundings are like in terms of noise levels. And if you have adaptive turned on, your AirPods throughout the day are going to transition between transparency mode and noise cancellation for you. Another feature which is great on top of adaptive audio is called conversation awareness. If I click on this, I have the option to turn it off and on. And what this is going to do is your AirPods Pro are going to detect when you start talking and automatically turn on transparency mode and also lower the volume of your audio playing. The one scenario I can think where this is going to be amazing is when I'm on an airplane. You know, when you're sitting in your airplane seat and the stewardess comes up and asks if you want a drink. Before, I would have to transition my AirPods into transparency mode and shut the music off. But here, with this update to the AirPods Pro, if I have adaptive audio turned on and also conversation awareness, I can simply start talking and my AirPods Pro are going to do the rest. Next up is inside of settings, if we click on passwords. If we click on password options, you're going to notice that we have a new option that says clean up automatically. So you know those text messages that you get all the time for two-factor authentication? It's always a 6-digit code that you have to enter into an application. Well, you can now have your iPhone automatically delete those text messages. This is a lifesaver. And I should also mention that it does work in mail as well. So whether you're getting a text message or an email with your verification code, you're able to have your iPhone delete those automatically. And also adding on top of this feature, you can now autofill verification codes from your email. So before in iOS 16, you were only able to do this if you received the code via a text message. But here, as you can see from this screenshot, it is now able to pick up verification codes from mail as well. So this makes it a lot easier when you're signing in with two-factor authentication across your applications. iOS 17 also gives us a slightly redesigned editing menu for your photos. So here I have a photo. If I click on edit, you can see it looks a little bit different at the bottom. Here is what iOS 16 looked like. iOS 17 simply gives you labels so you actually know what you're adjusting. This is so much better because so many people didn't really know what these icons meant in iOS 16, and here it actually tells us what we're going to be adjusting at the bottom. So the overall UI has been improved a little bit for photos. Also, we have a yellow done button for when you're done editing your photos, which makes it a lot easier. And iOS 17 also gives you a brand new icon for visual lookup. If I click on a photo that has an animal in it, you can see it recognizes the animal with that little icon. And if I click on the visual lookup icon, you can see it's going to give me information about what it detected in the photo. And this icon for visual lookup is going to change based on the context. So if I click on a photo that has a dog in it, as you can see, the icon is actually showing a dog. And if I click on it, it's going to show the actual breed of that dog, which is really cool. And even though I don't have an example to show you in this video, new in iOS 17 is this visual lookup feature is now going to work in videos as well. And the next feature I want to show you is something that Apple calls contact posters. So if I go ahead and open up contacts, I'll show you what this means. I'll click on my own card right here, and you're able to choose what your poster looks like when you call someone. If I click on contact poster, this is how you can edit it and create your own. So once it loads, it's going to show a very nice animation of all the different locations my contact poster is going to be shown in. So when I call someone, my contact image is going to show up like this, and the call screen is going to look like this. You can click on edit, so I'll quickly walk you through what it's like to create a new contact poster. I'll choose create new, and then by default, if I click on photos, the system is going to pick some photos of myself. So I'll choose this one, for example. And then you can change the font if you want. Let's make it this, and then make it a little bit thicker, and then maybe change the color to a nice purple, just like that. And then once I have made it, I'm able to confirm that this contact poster is what's going to show up on everyone's iPhone whenever I call them. So now that I've created this contact poster, you can see here, whenever I call someone and their iPhone has been updated to iOS 17, it is now going to show that custom call screen, as you can see right here on their phone. And speaking of phone calls, iOS 17 also has an all-new call screen. Now, I don't want to call someone just because I don't want to do it in the YouTube video right now, but here in Safari, I have a screenshot. So when you are on the phone with someone, all of the buttons have been moved down to the very bottom, and the end call button is still in the middle. iOS 17 also has a few new astronomy wallpapers. So if I click on create a new wallpaper, I can show you some of these. I'll scroll down to weather and astronomy. You can see here that we can now choose from some of the planets, not just Earth and Moon. So here we have Mars, we also have Saturn. If I click on this, you can see I'm able to switch between styles. So you can choose pretty much whatever planet you want as your wallpaper. And here you can also notice in iOS 17, Apple has also added a few new kaleidoscope wallpapers as well. These were inspired by the kaleidoscope Apple Watch faces. And iOS 17 also introduces interactive widgets, which means that you can now actually click on items on your widget and get stuff done. So one of my favorite ones is music. So you can see we have a play button right on the music widget. And I also like to use it for reminders as well. So you can see here, if I have to remind myself to do something, I can simply check it off right from my home screen. We also have a few updates for Siri in iOS 17. The first thing is you no longer have to say hey before Siri. You can simply just say Siri and start talking. So I'll give you an example of this. Siri, what's the weather right now?
The Environment and Climate Change Canada has issued.
So that's a really nice feature, but also in iOS 17, you're able to interrupt Siri as well. So as she is still talking to you, you can just keep talking and she is going to listen. So let me show you how this works. Siri, what's the weather? What is the score in the Blue Jays game? So as you can see there, Siri is a lot faster now, and it's just way easier to get stuff done. Apart from not saying, hey Siri anymore, it's also way easier to simply just keep talking instead of triggering it every time you want to ask something. iOS 17 also brings a much requested feature into Apple Maps. So if you click on your profile image, you can see we now have offline maps. So we can now download maps and use them even when we don't have internet in iOS 17. If I click on download new map, I'll just choose a random area like this. Then you're able to choose how big you want the area to be. So I'll zoom in a bit and you can see it's showing how big the size of your selected map is. If I click on download, it's going to take a few minutes depending on your internet connection. And just like this, as you can see, it is now going to save it offline on your phone. iOS 17 also has a really awesome new feature for sensitive content warnings. If you click on privacy and security, then scroll all the way down and click on sensitive content warning. This is really great for people who often receive unsolicited explicit photos. If you turn this on, your iPhone is going to be able to detect certain explicit photos, and instead of showing it to you as soon as you get it, it is going to blur out the photo and give you a warning that whatever is in that photo may be sensitive and harmful to people. And iOS 17 also has a few great updates inside of podcasts. So the first thing is that the up next section is now a lot more visually appealing. You can see that we have a play button right on the card, and overall it just looks a lot better than iOS 16 in my opinion. And you're also going to notice that the now playing screen for your podcast looks a little bit different, and it is updated to better match the design language of the music application. And iOS 17 also now gives you the option to add stickers to whatever you are marking up. So if I take a screenshot right here and then I go into markup, if I click on the plus icon in the bottom right corner, I can now add a sticker. So I can choose an emoji or any sticker that I have in my recents. So let's just choose an emoji like this, and I'll drag it on top of my screenshot just like that. And you also now get stickers inside of iMessage as well. If I click on the redesigned apps icon, you can see I now have stickers, and I can drag a sticker right on top of a message just like this. And iOS 17 also gives you a new feature inside of messages called Catch Up. So if you are in a thread and you have missed a lot of messages, there's going to be a button at the top that lets you click it to scroll up to all of the messages that you haven't seen yet. And also new is if we click on our apps and then scroll, you're gonna see there's a new option called check-in. What this is whenever you text a friend or family member, let me know when you get home safe. Well, this allows you to do that without getting a text message. So if the person you send this to agrees to your check-in, their iPhone is going to send you their location, and you're able to see when they get home safely. And also for messages, when you share your location, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to share my location, but when you choose to share your location, it's now going to show your location in line in the message instead of needing to click on the profile picture at the top. And another feature in messages, and probably my favorite one, is you now have the option to directly respond to a message in line without pressing and holding and clicking on reply. All you have to do is a swipe gesture like this, and you can reply in line just like that. And we also have an update inside of iPhone storage settings. If I click on General and then iPhone storage right here, you can see the graphic at the top has now been updated a bit, and it also shows how much available space we have inside the graphic. And iOS 17 also supports a really cool new feature called Name Drop. What this allows you to do is if you have two compatible devices both running iOS 17, you're able to hold them up to each other like this, and you'll get a really cool animation that sends each other's contact information to the respective device. So I don't have another iPhone that supports it updated to iOS 17, but on your screen right now, I'll show you a video of what it looks like. This is a really great way to share your contact information with somebody else. And also new for AirDrop in iOS 17, if you go into Photos, for example, and select a bunch of items, previously in iOS 16, if you wanted to initiate an AirDrop, you'd then have to click on the share icon and then choose AirDrop. But now on iOS 17, once you have all of your items selected, all you have to do is simply grab your phone and hold it up to another person's phone, and it'll start the AirDrop automatically. Inside Reminders in iOS 17, we have a new option for a grocery list. If you change the list type from standard to groceries, I'll just name this one test and then click on done, we're going to notice that we have automatic sorting. So for example, I'll put in carrots, and then I'll put in meat, if I can spell it. Then I'll put in eggs. Then I'll put in milk. And as you can see, it is sorting all of these based on where in the store I need to go to get it. So the produce department, the meat department, the dairy, eggs, and cheese. This makes it a lot easier for people that use the Reminders app for their groceries. iOS 17 also introduces a new feature called Live Voicemail. If you click on Phone, scroll down and turn on Live Voicemail. You can see it says view a transcript of incoming voicemails in real time and then answer it before the call ends. This is very similar to what Google offers with their call screening feature. I had this turned on for a little bit, but honestly, I didn't like the way it worked. If I open up my phone app, you can see I have some of my live voicemails. If I click on this one, you can see here is the transcript of that phone call I received. The next feature I want to show you is for FaceTime. So I just tried to FaceTime myself, and the new feature is that you're now able to record a video message, as you can see here. So if someone misses your FaceTime call, you're able to record pretty much a video voicemail and then send it to that person. This is very useful if you wanted to FaceTime them to show them something in the moment, but they weren't able to take the call. You can still record to show them whatever you want to show them in that original FaceTime. And iOS 17 also introduces some really cool FaceTime effects. So in a FaceTime call, if you do various things with your hands, such as a thumbs up, you're gonna see we get an animation on the screen just like that. It also works with 2 thumbs up. You can see if I do this, we get fireworks in the background. You can also do a peace sign, for example. So if I go like this, you can see we get the corresponding animation with balloons. And I do believe it also works with 2 peace signs as well, which is gonna give the confetti animation. So this just makes your FaceTime calls a lot more fun. And I forgot to mention it at the start of the video when I mentioned widgets, but iOS 17 now supports a Safari widget for your home screen, which is gonna show your reading list. And also inside of your passwords, you're now able to share passwords with your family, as you can see here. If I click on Get Started, it's gonna walk you through it, and this is gonna make it a lot easier if you have a bunch of family members that share one account, such as a Netflix account. And you're also gonna notice in iOS 17 that the Health app has gotten a slight redesign, just makes it a little bit more visually appealing, and it also is a bit more colorful as well. And also inside the Health app, we have the new option to log our state of mind. So if I click on log, I can choose how I'm feeling right now or how I felt overall today. And you can see here that we have a really nice animation and slider to show how we're feeling right now. And Apple is really focusing on people's mental well-being in this update. So on top of being able to log your state of mind, there is also a brand new application coming very soon called Journal, which is going to be really good for people who like to journal their thoughts. So you can now do that right on your iPhone. So that is everything new in iOS 17. This was a very long video, I know, but I wanted to show you every single new feature that you are now able to use with this update. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments, and also tell me in the comments what your favorite feature was I covered in this video. If you guys found this video informative or helpful or entertaining, please drop a like, as it does help us out quite a bit. My name is Michael, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.